The girl's voice was barely louder than the wind. "They want to hurt my mom. She's sick." Most people didn't hear her. Those who did pretended not to. She stood at the edge of the dusty road, thin arms wrapped around herself, eyes swollen from crying. Her clothes were worn, her shoes torn at the seams. But what broke hearts, if anyone was still paying attention, was the way she kept looking back, as if afraid someone was already coming. Her mother lay in a small house nearby, too weak to stand, too sick to run. And the men who wanted their land knew that. They said, "If we don't leave by tomorrow," the girl whispered to no one in particular, "they'll make her disappear." That's when the shadow fell over her. She looked up and froze. The man standing there was enormous, broad shoulders, rough hands, a face carved by years of sun and hard work. People called him the giant rancher, not just because of his size, but because no one ever argued with him and won. He owned the largest ranch for miles. He didn't speak much, didn't interfere, didn't need to. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice calm but heavy. The girl trembled. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." He knelt down, bringing himself eye level with her. "Who wants to hurt your mother?" That was all it took. The words poured out of her like a broken dam, about the land grab, the threats, the sickness, the fear of nightfall. She cried as if she had been holding it in for years, not days. The rancher stood slowly, his jaw tightened. "Show me." The house was small, fragile, just like the woman inside it. The rancher looked at the sick mother, then at the medicine bottles, empty, at the unpaid notices on the table, at the door that had already been kicked once as a warning. He said nothing, but when he left, the ground seemed to shake with each step. That night, 3 vehicles pulled up to the house, but they didn't stop there. They stopped at the giant ranch gates instead. The men who thought fear was a weapon suddenly felt it turn against them. By morning, the threats were gone. The paperwork was gone. The men were gone. In their place, a signed document protecting the land, a doctor at the mother's bedside, and food enough to last the winter. The giant rancher returned once more. "This land stays yours," he said simply. "No one touches you, ever." The girl looked up at him, eyes wide. "Why?" she asked. "You don't even know us." He paused. "I know what it means," he said quietly, "to be small in a world that likes to hurt the weak." He turned to leave, then stopped. "And tell your mom," he added, "she's not alone anymore." Years later, people still talk about that night, not because of the men who vanished, but because of a little girl's cry and the moment a giant decided to stand up. Sometimes it only takes one voice, and one person big enough to listen. The sickness didn't leave her mother overnight. Pain rarely does, but something else did leave, the fear. For the first time in weeks, the girl slept, without listening for footsteps outside the door. The rancher's men had repaired the broken lock, reinforced the windows, and left a lantern burning through the night. Light, the giant rancher had said, makes cowards think twice. Days passed. The doctor came every morning. Real medicine replaced the empty bottles. Slowly, color returned to the woman's face. Slowly, hope returned to the little house. The girl watched it all silently, afraid that if she spoke too loudly, the miracle might break. But trouble doesn't disappear easily. One evening, dust rose again on the horizon. The girl's heart froze. 3 men walked toward the house, the same ones who had threatened them before. Their smiles were thinner now, sharper, desperate. "She still owns land," one of them muttered. "Sick or not." The girl ran. She didn't scream this time. She didn't cry. She ran straight to the ranch. The gates were open. The giant rancher was loading hay when he saw her. One look at her face, and he already knew. He didn't ask questions. He mounted his horse. The men were still talking when the shadow fell over them. "A horse! A giant!" Silence. "This ends," the rancher said. One man laughed nervously. "You can't protect them forever." The rancher dismounted slowly. "No," he said, "but I can make sure you never come back." He reached into his coat, not for a weapon, but for papers. Legal documents, court orders, names of people higher than these men had ever dared to challenge. "You touch that family again," he continued calmly, "and this land will be the least of what you lose." Something in his eyes told them he wasn't bluffing. They backed away. for the last time. That night, the girl sat beside her mother's bed. "They're gone," she whispered. Her mother closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks, not from pain, but relief. The next morning, the giant rancher returned once more. He didn't stay long. He knelt in front of the girl and placed something in her hand, a small wooden carving of a horse. "So you remember," he said, "that strength isn't about size." She nodded, gripping it tightly. "Will we see you again?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "You won't need to." And with that, he rode away. Years later, that land still stands. The house is stronger now. The mother is healthy. The girl is grown. People still whisper about the giant rancher. But the girl tells a different story. She tells them that once, when the world tried to crush her, a giant didn't roar. He listened, and sometimes that's how stories truly end. Not with violence, not with noise, but with someone choosing to stand up and then quietly walk away.